So here I am, much better.
There you go. Nice sip of water. That's how you do it.
Especially when talking English, you have to have it doesn't go well with a dry throat, especially with those th sounds.
See, I've English was my first language, and so that's why I can speak it variably well, depending on how dry my throat is or not. But I would imagine being able to, because it's English is not obviously your native language, so you're having to concentrate more on your throat and your mouth sounds, and it's just. I'm sorry, I don't know. What is your native language? Is it Dutch?
It's Dutch, yes.
Okay, I don't know Dutch at all, so I wish.
It's pretty hard to learn that.
What is in Dutch? How would I say 3D printing? Is it just 3D printing, or is it
3D printen?
3D printed. Printen.
Yes.
3D printen.
Yes.
Okay. So if I said that to you, you would know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you aren't saying something silly if you say
that's good. Okay, good. You never know, right?
No.
Okay, so John, what I really want to know is, how did you get started with your Ender 3 and making it foldable? Because I think that it's genius. I've seen other foldable 3D printers. I know someone brought one to Maker Faire, but your approach was so simple in its design, and being able to see it in CAD first, it was wonderful. How did you start that, or why did you start that?
It's a funny story, by the way, why I started it. A couple of months ago, we had a presentation from a well-known chef who makes. He is known for printing food in the Netherlands. He's a good chef, and it was a nice presentation. And the way the printer, it uses a syringe. And a colleague of mine, he said that's exactly the same syringe as what we use at work for deposing lube and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, and I thought printing food would be cool. But I wanted to make a food printer and take it on the road with me to start printing at a chef's restaurant because I'm not good at making food, but I'm good at printing. So it would be a great combination. But in order to get it there, I thought it would be awesome if I can fold it and put it in a box or in a trolley. So that's how I started it. And I have the food printer, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this is the syringe holder. So it's one of my latest videos. I show this part, and it's powered by the Flexi Drive, so flexible drive system, and I made that detachable. So this can be mounted and unmounted with the quick tool change, and that's where my the whole channel started with. I
saw in your channel trailer, you displayed all these tools, and you wanted to make something that could change between them.
And this is what everything started with, and it was picked up by some other YouTubers as well. Among them, Teaching Tech, he uses this for a laser engraver, so that was pretty awesome to see. And so that's where I got the idea of making it fold, so I could take it with me on the road and start printing food. But I got it to print food, and that was exactly like the moment where the pandemic happened. So it was my idea was to get it on a train with some friends and make videos about it, and go to a restaurant and start printing food. But that's not going to happen. So I decided to do that after the pandemic and start with the current project. So it went a bit different than I intended.
I love the idea of doing it, though. It sucks that the pandemic happened because hopefully though restrictions relax and people are safe and you get to do it soon, because I think that would be a wonderful episode to show on your channel. So then,
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Nice.
Me too. So you made it so it was transportable to be able to print food and to be able to take it places.
Yeah, and in order to make it foldable, I had to come up with a design not just to hinge it like this, so it would be too large. So it must be a movement like this to get it as small footprint as possible. And I just started with 4 pieces of 4 simple pieces with the holes, and just started trying with the joints in Fusion until I get the movement that I liked, and I basically use the same dimensions in the printer itself. So, and I see often people start to make sketches and everything, but I'm absolutely not good at drawing, and basically Fusion itself is my sketch pad. So one of the problems I'm having is that once my project is finished, then the whole Fusion project is a complete mess. And so often people ask me, can I get the Fusion files? And of course I can get them, but you won't be happy if you get them, because Fusion, you have to, do you have experience with Fusion?
Enough. I have limited experience with Fusion, I would say, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
You have to make everything in one drawing. So it's not like SolidWorks where you have several parts and you can make an assembly. And if you want to change something, you can change that one part. You have to change everything in that one drawing. So it's pretty easy to make the changes on the wrong level. And so it's pretty easy to make a mess out of that. And especially when you're just sketching within Fusion and come up with an idea, and this is working, or sometimes you hide things and start drawing again. So a lot of bodies are just hidden and they haven't a function anymore, but you don't want to unhide it. So it will be a complete mess. But yeah, that's my way of working, and it works for me. So,
but that's great though, because I mean, it's just like programming, right? There's a lot of people who will write code to do something, and someone will say, "Hey, can I see your code?" And it's like, no, you can't. It's a mess. You know, it works, but it looks terrible. So I mean, it's because that's how I approach Fusion as well. A lot of people say sketch it out on paper first, and I'm like, no. I like experimenting digitally.
Yeah, there was a great saying about software who said, this software only God and I knows how it works. And 1 week later, only God knows. So that's typical software problem.
Well, so let's go to the CR10S5 then, because that's an insane project right there. And I saw the video. That's one of the ways where I really got to know who you were, because you had this large format 3D printer. I have a CR10S5 as well, and that bed moving around, it's too much. And so, how did you think to make the gantry mobile? What thought process got you there?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I have bought it already, and I didn't have that idea at first. And I was just looking at the picture of the CR10S5 on my screen. And the idea just popped into my mind. I wanted to make it a Core XY printer, but I thought it was a bit too difficult, because I don't want to make this printer the best printer ever. I wanted to make rims for a car. So I wanted to make it print rims for a car. So that's my whole goal. So I don't want to do a lot of effort into making that printer a real Core XY printer. So I saw those V-slot beams at the bottom and thought it should be possible to make it move on those beams. So, and I just started trying. And when I came up with the idea, I thought this is too simple. I must overlook something. And I tried it, and it works way better than I expected. And as I've mentioned in the video, I had 3 stages. The first was to get it run in the first place. And I was expecting a lot of wobble. So the second stage would be to make a gantry at the top. And just like the x-axis of the Ender 3, which is controlled at one side, and the other side goes with it, with those 3 V-slot wheels. Do the same thing at the top, so you can reduce that wiggle. And my third step would be adding a second belt at the top, so then all wiggle is removed. And I thought I had to make it to step 2, but even step 1 worked way better than I expected. And it's still, I'm a bit afraid of the resonance frequencies, and I really want to test that. But yeah, once it started moving, I was and how sturdy it feels. I didn't see that one coming. So as I hoped it would go, that's exactly how it went. So that was very cool. And I didn't expect that much attention of this simple modification, but it's it's awesome that this happened.
It was amazing to see, though, because you could tell you weren't expecting it to work so much, and the joy on your face, just the happiness you had, told the whole story. And it didn't look that difficult. There were some parts that you printed, and obviously, I mean, it's not a beginner mod, but at the same time, it looks like something like this could be done by a number of people who have these large format machines and want to make their footprint less, right?
Yeah, it's pretty easy, and I think even if you print it out of PLA, I think it would work. PLA itself is pretty brittle, so it doesn't flex that much, and the parts are pretty thick. So I haven't printed it with PLA. I just I used polycarbonate, and that's not a beginner's material.
No, it's not.
I had some difficulties printing that, but it turned out great. But they are. My first print was pretty flimsy, and so I thought I'd make it thicker, and and it's pretty easy to print, especially out of if I can print it out of polycarbonate, then most people will be able to print it out of PLA or PETG.
That makes sense.
And you don't have to buy much materials, only some pulleys and a rod and a bunch of screws. So I was especially surprised by how less materials you need to get this to work. And the rolls itself, it needs six of these V-slot wheels, and those are used for the bed, but the bed doesn't have to move anymore, so I can use those wheels to move the whole gantry.
See, that's perfect. My goal would be to take my CR10S5 and do the mods that you've done, because I think it would be interesting to try it. It looks like it's within my skill level, and so if I try this in the future, I may have to reach out to you for some help.
And that's fine, of course. I have.
Oh no!
Oh, you
there you are.
I was planning on making a video in which I take a look back at what I've done, because I have made a small design flaw. At this point, it reduces the build size a bit because it collapses with the motor mount, and that can easily be solved. And the belt itself isn't running in parallel, so the problem is that the gantry isn't moving exactly linear. I don't think that you can measure it, but in theory, it's running faster at the end than it does at the beginning, in the middle, and it's a very easy fix. But at this moment, I'm waiting for more polycarbonate because I ran out, and
oh no!
I expect more to arrive tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to print the new parts and see if everything fits. And I'm going to make a follow-up video because I called it a Core XY machine. and
the internet made sure to tell you were wrong.
Yeah, they definitely did. Well, in my simple mind was the bed is standing still and the core is moving in the X and Y direction. So it's a Core XY, right? But that was a bit too simplistic. So I'm going to say that it turns out to be a moving gantry printer. I didn't know that, or a moving portal. I like the name Moving Portal.
That sounds like a fun name.
Yeah, so I'm going to call it a Moving Portal name, and that suits this printer. So and I won't be calling it the Core XY machine anymore.
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it indeed is.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm going to make a video and show that it's not a Core XY machine and the small design flaw. And one thing I want to mention about there's one video made by CNC Kitchen, and he has an interesting video. It wasn't watched that much about resonance frequencies. And he put his phone with the G sensor on his gantry, and he designed a wick-like structure. So the printer goes wobbling and goes faster and faster, and he use the FFT analysis to see where the resonance frequencies were. And I want to use that knowledge of his video to do the same with the printer and do it at different heights of the Z level, the Z axis, and find the resonance frequencies and see how far it will wobble the way as it is now. It doesn't care much for me because I'm going to print the rims, so the size, the part itself doesn't have these small details.
Exactly.
But because there is a lot of interest in this mod, I think it would be interesting to show how much it actually wobbles and what you can do about it to reduce that. So I think that would be interesting for most people with this mod, because one of the most things that I've read in the comments, apart from this not being a Core XY printer, is that that they thought it was still wobbling, and I would just want to show how much it wobbles with these materials and how you can reduce that. And I'm going to make an enclosure out of the 2040 and 2020 profiles. So I'm going to stabilize it at the top. This video is just going to show, if you're doing this mod, what kind of wobble can you expect at different C heights.
I see.
So that's coming.
How do you think, though, how do you think it's going to perform? How much wobble do you think is there?
At resonance frequencies, I think it will be too much for sure. If I'm going to guess, if I will place it all the way on top, it will be several millimeters, maybe 1 or 2 more than maybe, I think somewhere like that. So definitely, if you hit those resonance frequencies, then of course that will happen. But similar things will happen if you do it with a normal printer. If you hit those resonance frequencies, you get those artifacts. And I reckon with this printer, it will be more for sure. But it's stiffer than I would expect. But the higher it goes, the more that wobble will be. And it's just trying. And that's what I like about this. The ideas I'm having, they aren't mostly the best. They aren't thought through or completely finished to the end. I'm just having an idea, post it online, and see what others have to say and make it work. So it's just idea pitching, and that's what my channel is about mostly. And
you do a good job with it. I love that. I love that things aren't complete and that you're open to suggestion. You're open to critique and criticism, because in the end, you're going to get yourself a better product, a better model, a better piece, a better build.
Yes, and my goal is to learn from each other, so other people can learn from my experience and my failures. So, and I can learn from the critiques from others, and that's nice about this community, that most people are there to help each other. So, and that's definitely what I hope to achieve, and that's what's happening right now. So I'm very thankful to everyone who is doing critique and with the great comments from which I can learn myself. So that's very cool that this platform enables that.
I would agree. Well, let's call it good there. I'm sure you've let's say it's your evening. You got some coffee to finish. It's my morning. I still have to eat breakfast. John, anything that I missed? Is there anything you wanna say before we call it good?
I have one thing, and one new sort of idea I'm having, which I wanted to pitch with you.
Ooh.
And I haven't released it yet, and I'm just designing it, but I think you can enjoy this one.
Sure.
I'm going to use it for this project. It's not an upgrade from a printer. but I want to know which materials are the strongest to use for printing those rims. And I've looked a lot of the videos about CNC Kitchen and what the best ways of printing are, the best materials, etc. And I wanted to find a fun way of finding out which material is the strongest. And I came up with the idea of poly wrestling. And I can poly
Of what?
Poly wrestling.
Okay.
I will share my screen with you. 1 moment.
Sure.
Let's see. Yes. Can you see it?
I can see it.
There's the fusion design with 2 arms. Those are obviously my arms. And the idea is to make them arm wrestle, and with 2 different materials. And the parts itself, they are the same. So you can just print them twice. And let them arm wrestle against each other. And it should snap off here. And the one that snaps off is obviously the loser.
That's amazing.
So now you can have 2 arms. I have some parts here, and I'm still figuring out what the best design is. My first design was way too strong, so I put all my force on it, but it just wouldn't break.
Okay.
And I have some here a part that is I can see it. This this snapped here at this place, and it snapped here. So this was a bit too thin. So I'm figuring out which thickness would be the best. And this is all printed out of ABS. And you can do some fun games with each other, or make a gamble between, well, which is stronger, is it PLA or a PTG? So that's
it'd be interesting, though. This kind of model, you could, once we have maker fairs or Midwest Rep Rap Festival, all of those, what we could do, you could put the call out and say, hey, here's this model, printed in whatever material you want. And then at a table, you have poly wrestling, and you have everybody that, and you have PLA category, PTG category, ABS category, and then you have people wrestle each other until there's only one winner standing.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to show this. It's the first time for me to announce this. I'm still wanting to make a short video to show this, and I think one interesting. We'll get this back. One interesting thing would be to make a wrestle between polycarbonate and carbon fiber reinforced nylon filament, and I think that it can be pretty interesting what's going to happen. And I think even PLA is stronger than you might think, because often people think that PLA it's brittle, so it breaks fast. But if you let it compete against ABS, then I'm not really sure which of the 2 will break first. And this is a fun way of trying out. It's not as academic as the CNC Kitchen does, but
no,
it's a fun and fast way to do. You can print it fast and just try and make games out of it and see which material is strongest.
It's fun, and it's a fun way to introduce engineering to others who might not be otherwise interested.
Exactly.
Right? You could bring that into schools, and you could demonstrate different material properties by having the kids wrestle with your poly wrestling.
Exactly. Nice.
That'd be interesting. John, that's cool.
I will keep you posted about how this is going, and I will see if I can also make it print vertically. So I have to make a flat piece here, so we can see what the C strength, the layer adhesion.
Oh, that's right.
Does. So I still have to make it like that. It can print it easily in different orientations. So I'm working on that in the background outside of my other project, and I think it's a nice thing to try things with it. It might even not work, but the idea is there. And
the idea is there, and that's what's great about 3D printing. It might not work, it might work, but the joy of discovering whether it does or not is part of the path.
Yes.
Well, let's call it good right there. We've chatted for a while. This was a lot of fun. We'll cut up some of this, and we'll get this ready. What is today? It's my Wednesday morning, so it's your Wednesday evening. It'll be out. Yep. We'll take some bits from this, and it'll be out Friday. Either my Friday morning or Friday evening, but I'll make sure to tag you on Twitter. And,
awesome.
and this file here, I'll put it in a Dropbox for you so you can have access to any of that footage as well.
That's cool. Yes, awesome. Thanks a lot for having me. It was a pleasure.
John. I appreciate it.
We'll see each other again.
This won't be the last time we meet up for epic times.
Nice.
And ready? Cheers. You got your coffee handy?
I have my water here.
There it is. There we go.
Cheers.
Hey, see you later, John. We'll chat soon.
Yes. Bye.
Bye-bye.